this is a vocabulary page, so make sure you're up in the front of your math journal. This is going to be page 7. We're going to call it Chapter 6 Vocab. Alright, this one's all about expressions, so that's probably the one we should start out with. So our definition is an expression. And an expression is where you is a real life situation represented with numbers and operations. In parentheses, I want you to write no equals sign. Okay, there are two kinds. We have numerical expressions, which are only have numbers and operations. For operations, I'm just going to write plus, minus, divide, multiply, operations, okay? And the other one we have is algebraic. And it has numbers, variables, and operations. Let's underline variables because that's what makes the difference here. Algebraic means there's something in there unknown. Okay, next thing I want you to write is your order of operations. Okay, order of operations says that we're just going to write G, E, M, D, A, S. So it's the order that we do things. So we do grouping symbols first. Underline the G so you remember where this comes from. Grouping symbols. And then let's just write grouping, and then let's write a number 1 over here. How's that? So number 1, we do grouping symbols. 2, I'm trying to fit as much on here as I can, so I am shortening some of my wording. Just be prepared for that. So 2 was exponents. Right here, I want you to underline MD and AS together because they are the most powerful, or they are the same in power. It just matters which one comes first, left to right. So next I want you to write 3, and we're just going to write a multiply sign and a divide sign just for space. But then I want you to write L to R, meaning left to right, whichever one comes first, left to right. And fourth, A and S was addition and subtraction. And same thing, left to right. Okay, next one I want you to write is an exponent. parentheses, I want you to write powers. And I think it'll be easier here if we just show an example. So 4 to the third power means 4 times 4 times 4, which means 64, not 12 as some people think it should be. So I'm just giving you an example there because I know you know what it is, as long as you remember to put it in the right thing. Okay. It's here, let's put repeated multiplication. So exponents are repeated multiplication of the same number. Okay, for space, I'm writing the number sign. Okay, next one, terms. This one might end up being a little bit longer than usual. We might actually have to go to the next page. I'm hoping I can fit it all on here, but this is a very vocabulary full chapter. Okay, a term are items in an expression. Separated by, for space, adding or subtracting signs. Okay, next we're going to do kind of a shortened version of these, but these are the mathematical properties we discussed. Okay, and this one I think would be easier to show kind of more with a diagram. Well, maybe not quite a diagram, but we're going to do more showing than writing out. So we have 4 properties we discussed. The first one we discussed was the commutative property. Okay, and the commutative property only works for adding and multiplication. Okay, the key word was move. So order changes. Let's write an example over here. A plus B plus C equals, now let's move the order around, C plus A plus B. So same thing with multiplication, but it's when they move around. Okay, the second one we discussed was the associative property. Okay, and once again, this one only works on adding and multiplication. But this one is grouping. So this is when the grouping changes. So if I have A times B in parentheses times C, that's the same as if I took B and C and grouped them together. Notice here the grouping is what changed. Here, everything moved around. So to associate means to group, to commute means to move. Okay, the third one we talked about was identity. So the identity properties means it keeps its identity. Okay, Okay, we talked about a couple ways that could happen. Like a plus 0 is still going to be a, or a times 1 is still going to be a. So after doing something to it, it still stayed the same. Okay, and the fourth one we had was distributive property. Okay, and the distributive has both multiplication. So I want this in big bold. Both multiplication and addition or subtraction. Okay, so that is a clue that you're using the distributive property. So what that would be is if I have a number multiplied to a sum or difference, so let's say b plus c, then that's the same as a times b plus a times c. We're distributing a to both terms. All right, next line. Like terms. Like terms have the same exact variable. I should say terms that have, but hopefully you get that from terms. Okay, next one is a constant. So in an expression, this is the numbers that don't have variables. Ooh, barely squeezed that one in. We might be able to fit it all in one. That's awesome. Okay, next, coefficient. Is a number multiplied to a variable. Okay, and the last definition we're going to write is going to be equivalent expressions. Okay, equivalent expressions are equal to each other when simplified. So I'm just going to write are equal when simplified. Okay, I have a little extra space. I want you to write this expression with me, and we are going to pick out the different parts of an expression. Okay, so we're going to label this with parts of an expression. Okay, I am purposely skipping. See how I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines? I want you to write on this middle line so we have plenty of room around it to write. Okay, I want you to write 2a plus 3b minus 6 plus 4b plus a. Alright, now up here I want you to go, pause the video for a minute, and I want you to go get 4 colored pencils. Okay? We're going to be finding all the constants. I'm doing mine in orange. You can color code yours whatever colors you have. All constants I'm going to color in orange. In this case, the only one I have is 6. So constants are numbers that don't have variables. Okay, next one I want to color code are coefficients. I'm picking blue. You can pick whatever color you have, just something different than when you already used. So coefficients are the numbers multiplied to a variable. So here, see how I have 2a? That means 2 times a. 2a is a term. 2 is a coefficient. That would also mean then that 3 is a coefficient. 4 is also a coefficient. So those are your coefficients in this. Okay, another color. We're going to talk about like terms. Only I asked you to get 2. So what we're going to do is we're going to put like terms with the same color. So I have purple and pink. So I'm just going to I've done this before, but I'm going to make boxes and circles. So I have A here. I'm going to circle A in pink. 2A and A are like terms, and I could combine them. So if I'm going to simplify them, I can combine like terms. (2a) plus another A would be another total of 3A. Okay, another set of like terms I have, B's. I'm going to box those in purple. Here I have 3 B's, 4 more B's, so that would be a total of 7 B's. Now 6 has nothing else. There are no other constants. So it's just going to be minus 6 here. This would be my simplified expression. Hopefully that helps you to remember the different parts and definitions that we've learned during this chapter.